It was the most exciting moment I've ever had. But Sam Linebacker was, although he was the leader of the defense, he was also responsible for calling the plays. And I totally forgot that I stuttered because I was so excited. So I ran to the huddle and the coach signaled me to play. And
Hello, Errol.
hey, how are you?
Very good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
Welcome. I'm so happy to have you on the Break Time with Patty show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes. My dear friend at home or work or wherever you are. As you already know, very likely, I have been conducting interviews of Toastmasters members, champions, or motivational speakers with three intentions. One, to share tools with the 77% of humans who suffer from the fear of public speaking. Mm-hmm. Two, to spread a message of love, kindness, and positivity. And three, to encourage victims of abuse to find their voice and use it.
Awesome.
Yes.
I love that.
Like it. Good. Errol is a speaker I came across while I was watching the World Championship of Public Speaking this past August 2021. And I loved his messages so much that I decided to invite him on the show. And lucky for us, he kindly agreed to come on over. So, who is Errol Leandre? Let me introduce him to you, and then I will let him speak. Don't you worry. In this year's 2021 World Championship of Public Speaking, Errol made it to the final round, placing him top 8 best speakers in the world. That is top 8 out of 30,000 outstanding contestants. Woo! Yes, you may clap. You may clap. Errol accepted a calling to become a minister actually in 1996, where he began devoting all his time and energy to helping youth all over the USA. And now he's actually a Bishop Leandre. And he's also an information technology project manager for Miami-Dade County Public Schools, where he is responsible for managing and supporting technology infrastructure in over 75 schools and district offices while leading a crew of over 40 IT specialists. Today, Errol is also a professional speaker who uses his engaging stories, technical expertise, and powerful platform skills to help inspire individuals and improve businesses worldwide. Whew. He is also, I'm not finished, he is also a husband of 26 years, a lovely wife, and has 2 wonderful kids. All right, I think I've talked enough. Let's get started. Errol, can you please tell us a little bit more about yourself when you were a young boy or a teenager? What was it like to be in his sneakers?
Wow. As a young boy, I would tell you, Errol has always been an adventurous kid. He loves challenges. But he always had this ability of putting others' needs first. But he also shied away from allowing people to help him for some reason. Partly because Errol had a speech impediment. He stuttered. He lived life and he hated life. He hated life because of him stuttering. He avoided people as much as possible because he was tired of being picked on, laughed at, and even bullied. And he felt that the best way to not feel embarrassed, he just avoided people who he met for the first time. But he was very comfortable around people who he knew or grew up with. But in school, where he really hated life, many of the students picked on him again. But they would do bad things and they were blaming on him because he knew he had a speech impediment. He couldn't speak to defend himself. So it was easy to blame Errol for things that, other kids, did. So every time they blamed him, he would go to the office, the principal office, and he would get paddled. That's when paddling was allowed in schools at the time. So it happens numerous times until it got to the point where he just felt tired. He didn't know what else to do. He complained to the teacher, but they didn't hear him or would believe him, because it was very common that if a person stutters, it was a sign that he was lying. He wasn't telling the truth. So he just constantly bottled a lot of that inside until he got to the point he just couldn't take it anymore. And as a young boy, it brought the worst out of him. Errol became very bitter, resentful. And since no one would ever believe him, he practically took matters in his own hand. And Errol, the only thing that it was left for him to do was fight. So every time someone blamed me for something that I didn't do, I will fight. I will fight him, and I will fight. And it wasn't the right thing to do, but I didn't know what else to do. My parents came visit the school so many times to try to speak and defend me, but they just wouldn't hear me. So it was a struggle growing up, and I hated life. I hated stuttering. I just hated it because of, it brought the worst out of me.
Yes.
But as a teenager, I began to somehow grew out of it a little, became a little bit more comfortable in myself. I've always was into sports, so I loved football. So I decided to try out for the high school football team. And I was able to make the team. And the very first year, I only played 5 minutes out of the whole year. But the following year, I signed up again to play, and I became the starter. And I became the key starter every year after that. But I still struggled with the speech impediment. One of the positions I always wanted to play was sound middle linebacker, which was the leader of the defense. And even growing up as a kid, I've always had dreams and vision of doing big things, exciting things. But I was always reminded, you can't, because you have a speech impediment, you stutter. No one is going to hear you. You can't talk. And every time those thoughts come to my mind, those dreams died. And I walked away and felt like I just couldn't accomplish anything in life. But that day when I told coach I wanted to play sound middle linebacker, he gave me that opportunity. He said, Errol, go to sound linebacker. Yes, oh yes. It was the most exciting moment I've ever had. But sound linebacker was, although he was the leader of the defense, he was also responsible for calling the plays. And I totally forgot that I stuttered because I was so excited. So I ran to the huddle, and the coach signaled me to play, and I couldn't get the play out. So I was stuck. And at that moment, I just gave up because everyone started laughing, and I walked off the field and said, I quit. I just can't take it anymore. That's it for me. I'm done. I am done. And that's at that point when I heard his words while walking off the field, accept what I allowed. And I didn't know where the words was coming from. But those words changed my life. And it helped me to realize that there's no one who's more important than Errol Leandre. Face the challenge, get back out there. And as a teenager, from that moment on, I started paying attention to me and valuing me and appreciating who I was, regardless of the stuttering. So that was me as a young kid and teenager.
Amen. Yes. What an amazing story. And
Thank
it's
you.
so funny how many people stutter. Like, I joined Toastmasters because well, for many reasons, I spoke very quickly, but I stuttered. I say I stuttered, but I still do. Not as often now that I'm more used to speaking, but even today I was running some errands, and twice, I think I must be very tired, because I find when I'm under high stress, when I'm very tired, it still comes back, you know? So I cut myself with it, but Toastmasters does help a lot. So I'm very happy that, which brings me to my next question, actually. So at this point, so now you're a teenager, or I guess you went into adulthood. What was the turning point that made you decide to go visit a Toastmasters club for the first time then?
Oh, excellent question. I worked for, as I work for Miami-Dade County Public Schools, and I was hired in the main IT department. And the director of that department asked me, he said, Errol, I want to give you a special project that I feel that only you can do because of your leadership skills, as well as your ability to connect and work with people. So I said, okay, what? I had to spearhead a multi-million-dollar technology restoration project at one of the high schools. And I'm very good at what I do concerning technology. But at that time, I struggled with presenting. So one of the requirements that I had while spearheading that project was I had to meet with dignitaries and different directors and so forth to provide them updates on my progress on the technology restoration project. But my presentation was horrible. It was horrible. So my good friend and mentor said, Errol, it doesn't look good. it doesn't look good, but he said, but I want to suggest that you join Toastmasters. What is Toastmasters? Well, Toastmasters is an organization that helps you to build your communication skills as well as presentation skills. I said, oh, it has to be expensive. No, not at all. So I said, all right, well, I'll check it out. And I visited a Toastmaster club near me, Cultivate Toastmaster, and I've been in there since.
And that was in 2019, correct?
That was 2019, yes.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. Yes, Toastmasters does change lives, but we'll get to that. It really does. My club is Words on Wings, and I just joined in May 2021. Oh, wow. And like in a very short period, the confidence boost, it's insane. I find that Toastmasters gives you what you put into it, because I could have also just joined and just as an observer and just looked at everybody perform all the roles, not take on any roles, not make any speeches, not start with my icebreakers. So, you know, you can also just do nothing, join and not do much, just enjoy the fun, because it's fun, right? If you have a good fit of a club. But I went all in, and like 3 months later, I had started my first YouTube channel, and this one, the Patty Pass Toastmaster Journey. And then in November, I started my second one, Patty Pass Spiritual Journey. So all those things were possible because I gained the confidence because of Toastmasters. So I totally understand.
It works.
Did you see how quickly did you start seeing a difference with that job of yours when after you had joined Toastmasters?
As a matter of fact, after joining Toastmasters, I paid extra attention in my communication, and I'm not nowhere perfect, but I paid extra attention to my communication, and I began to follow a lot of the methods that I've learned in Toastmasters, and I began seeing a difference within months, within 2-3 months, and so it really helped out a lot.
Actually, a friend of mine joined my group, my club a few weeks ago. And within a few weeks, I started seeing, because she has a business, she has a huge flourishing business, but she was struggling with her online presence because, you know, the online charisma is something, some people are great in person, but then it doesn't translate properly. And within a few weeks, I already see a difference just now with her joining a few weeks. It's insane. Wow. Okay, awesome. So now, yes. So now you're a Toastmasters member at this point. And okay, what made you decide to start competing at this point?
Oh, I had a feeling you was going to ask that question.
Yes.
When I joined Toastmasters, as a matter of fact, my first visit, of course, they encouraged me to join. So I really liked what I've experienced the first meeting, and I decided that, okay, I'll join. So upon leaving, and I received a call. I received a call the day after. Actually, I received a call the day after from the club president, and she said, why don't you prepare a speech, an icebreaker speech? A what? An icebreaker speech. I just joined, so I don't want to speak now. So she said, yeah, prepare icebreaker speech and you can start working your pathways. I said, well, okay, I'll give it a try. I'll see. I struggled. I didn't know what to talk about. I didn't. And so I was reminded about my speech impediment. Share the story. Oh. And of course, I didn't want to do it, but this thought just keep coming to my mind. Oh, no, I don't think I want to do that. It's saved embarrassment, of course. But I decided, yes, I'm going to do it. So I wrote out the speech, and that first day when I had to deliver that speech, I was nervous. But when they called me to share my icebreaker speech, I delivered it. And I tell you, you couldn't hear a pin drop in there. And there were some even tearing up in the meeting. So it was, but right after I shared that speech, everyone began asking me questions about how do I overcome? How do I this? How do I? And the president said, Errol, we have to get you ready for competition. What? Oh, no, that's not happening. That's not happening. Absolutely not. So after some pushing, so wow. I decided to enter the competition. So the opportunity came up, and I was asked to be a test speaker at a club competition to kind of get the experience to see how the competition really worked. And I was impressed. I'm like, hey, I may be able to do this. So I did, but I had no idea it would have taken me where I went.
So let me get this straight, Errol. You mean to tell me, so you had an icebreaker, your club actually saw your champion quality at the icebreaker. So you joined in 2019, and in 2020, you actually joined a competition and you made it all the way to the semi-finalists. That's what you're saying?
Technically, yes. With the icebreaker speech.
Some people take years together, so that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm still shocked.
Okay. So about your 2020 semi-finalist speech, actually called Accept What I Allow. Mm-hmm. What a phenomenal speech it was. It really moved me deeply, particularly because I do stutter. It's an impediment that I have at a very mild level. Okay, it's not a heavy one, but it's just enough to be uncomfortable, to make me uncomfortable and not want to speak sometimes. So you are a fierce defender of individuals with speech impediments, obviously, since you used to stutter. if someone suffers from mild or severe stuttering and all the frustration that comes with it, what would you like to tell them right now, Errol?
I would tell them, first thing, learn to accept you for who you are and what God allowed you to become. That's the first and most important thing. People's going to talk about it. People's going to laugh. They're going to pick on you. But what matters most is what you think of yourself. And I think once you understand that concept, you learn to accept you for who you are. At that moment, live out your dreams. Do whatever you want to do that makes you happy. And when you begin to accept yourself, you begin to feel better about yourself. You begin to believe in yourself more. You begin to overcome some challenges that you didn't realize you could have. That's what happened to me. Once I began to accept me for who I am, I didn't care if people laughed at me. I realized that people that matter most in my life, that people who understood that I stutter and then really made a big deal about it. They just accept me for who I am. And I think that was the most important thing for me, that I would share with anyone that actually has a speech impediment.
Yes, yes. I love it so much. Absolutely. Thank you for that. And okay, so now we made it to the semi-finalist round. So if we fast forward to the next year, 2021, this past August, can you share with us, I guess you decided to join again another competition. You made it all the way. So you passed the club, area, district, division, you passed all the different levels. Just for those who are not part of Toastmasters, we had about 360,000 members in 2021 and only 30,000 got to compete. And so this is where we're at this point. So can you share with us what it must have felt like when you found out that you made it through to the first championship round with that speech? Like, were you surprised to make it through, because it was the first time that you made it past the semi-finalists and to the final 8 out of 30,000? How was that?
I was shocked. I was completely shocked. I was stunned. Honestly, I was like, oh, really? But it felt very rewarding. We really worked hard, me and my coach. And especially in 2020, that speech, I like, wow, people like it. People like that speech. I'm like, I can't believe it. So it was really shocking. I was in disbelief hearing that I made it to the semifinals and to the finals. Wow.
So actually the speech that got you there was the one rotten apple, right?
One rotten apple, yes.
It really struck a chord with me, I have to say. I won't give any spoilers, so please at home go watch it. It's a must watch. But Errol, your story is the story that many Black men that I know who had encounters with the law enforcement had. So basically, and most of these men, they remain silent and bitter from such encounters. And I'm so grateful that you are using your voice to share your message. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Can you share with us, how do you find your themes, your stories, and also what motivates you to share such impactful and inspirational messages with your audience?
Wow. That particular one rotten apple, I will start with that. I was invited to be a co-host during for a men discussion one evening, and during that we were talking about the issue with George Floyd and many racial issues that was going on around the world. And the topic was, it was powerful. We had a lot of men who was part of that discussion group. And for some reason, I thought about that experience. And when I began sharing it, letting them know that when I had this experience when I was in high school, that a police officer put a gun to my head, mistaking me for someone who they were looking for. And right in front of my mom opened the door. And when I came out, first my mom called, she called me and he put the gun to my head and my mom was frantic. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. And then my mom even tried wedging herself between me and the police gun. And he pushed her to the side, and it really did something to me watching that, even that one incident. But yet I couldn't do anything because I'm looking down the barrel of a gun. And surprisingly, the voice had came over the radio saying, suspect has been apprehended, all clear. And this officer just halted his gun and left, and no apology, anything. He just left us there. So I began sharing that during the men discussion, and it was like, wow. And so right after that meeting, a good friend of mine who was a mentor for me in Toastmaster, he said, Errol, that's your speech. That's your championship speech. I promise you, it will get you to the champion. No way. I'm not sharing that speech. Absolutely not. No, I felt like it was too controversial. I didn't feel it was the right time for it. All kind of thought. He said, no, that is the speech you need to share. So I pondered on it for days and decided that, you know what? Write it. Because you never know, it may help someone. So I decided to write that speech. But I didn't focus on the negative part of it, but I also focused on the outcome of it, because I met a good friend as the other police officer who really helped encourage me, and he really helped encourage me. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
And when I wrote that speech, I thought of a rotten apple. And because of the controversy that was going on with police officers at that time, it was a very bitter situation, but yet also, how do you help the situation? Mm-hmm. So when I wrote the speech, One Rotten Apple, I realized that I was delivering a speech to where either it can hurt or help someone. So I focus on trying to help someone who have experienced what I've experienced. And so I did. So One Rotten Apple became the theme of it. And I was looking for something also title-wise, very catchy, a theme that was catchy, that was attractive, something that can stand out. And One Rotten Apple it was. And my coach at the time said, no, this is it. One Rotten Apple it is.
It was a memorable speech, Errol.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry that you had to go through that. But again, you're one of many, right? I don't have to, there's no number. And you're lucky. I'm so happy that you're still alive to share this tale, because often it just turns, you seem to be like a solid man, basically, and very often it's intimidating for the police officers, right? So I find that it often turns negative. So
exactly, it does. It does in some cases, absolutely.
It's because they want to make sure. Yes. Anyhow, I don't need to get into that. I'll let people look at the video. But anyhow, so thank you for sharing this, and thank you for giving a voice to those who cannot speak anymore.
Thank you.
And what advice would you like to share with? Because now, I mean, you're making it to the top very quickly, because it's 2019 to 2021, making it to the top 8. What advice would you like to share with future Toastmasters contestants? Because there'll probably be about 30,000 now be competing in the 2022 World Championship. What would you like to tell them on their journey to try to make it to the final round? Like something you wish someone would have told you that would have made your life easier, for instance.
Wow, excellent question. I would say we all want to win the world championship of public speaking, but focus on capturing the audience heart. And when you do that, you would win no matter what the outcome is. And to me, I think that was the most important, I think that's the most important thing that any contestant can, can do. Focus on the audience, win their hearts, grab their attention. And when you do that, no matter what, you're a winner.
Amen. Yes, I'm with that too. I agree with this. And it's about the message. And it was so moving because every message, because I watched the entire thing because I was sick. So I had nothing else to do, to then watch it. I could have watched Netflix, but I chose the championship. And and there's just so many powerful messages. And that's also the reason why I wanted to, I launched this YouTube channel in August, right after. So watching all your messages, only one person makes it to the top, Verity Price.
Oh, exactly. Congratulations, Verity. Absolutely.
Yes, I love her so much. So actually, I interviewed her a few weeks ago. And, but then there's the top 3 podium, okay? And, but then there's there's the top 8 with you in it. And then there's all the other 30,000 outstanding speakers because they made it there. They made it to that point. So it's just all those stories are not necessarily heard, and they have amazing messages, but with a small platform, right? So this is why I figured, you know what, let me just start my YouTube channel and let me just start sharing the stories and for people to see the impact. But this is how impactful your story is, Errol, because it does change life. It doesn't have to change a lot of lives. It just have to change the right life, not the right lives.
Exactly.
Like the few, the one person who happens to hear it. That's what, even if one person hears your message and can change their outlook and have a more positive energy towards whatever happened and fight for the good cause, instead of just being bitter and then ending up getting themselves into more trouble. Like, I find that you've won. So you're a champion right there just for that.
Yep, that's true.
But okay. And what is your best advice that I'm going to try to extract all your best advice, Errol. What is your best advice that you would give to someone who has a fear of public speaking?
Oh, I know that too well. I would say face it and speak anyway. Just try. Go for it. Speak anyway. And also, I would encourage that you join a Toastmaster club because you are with others who's in the same situation as you, who may have a fear of public speaking, who may struggle with their presentation skills, but they are there to learn. And so when you are around like-minded individuals, you learn together. And it helps you overcome that fear. So I would definitely say just speak anyway, go after it, but also join the Toastmaster Club.
Yes, Bishop. Absolutely. Great. So we're coming to the close of our interview. What is the next step for Errol Leandre? Please do share.
I want to inspire the world. I want to inspire the world. I'm looking to do more speeches. I'm looking to compete again in the near future. But I'm going to continue being an inspirational speaker, just sharing powerful messages throughout the world. And that's what's next for me.
Yes, absolutely. I wish you the best of luck with everything that you accomplish, basically, and with God's grace, it will happen.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes. And finally, if someone from the audience would like to know more about you or connect with you, what is the best way to reach you?
Oh, excellent. You can go to my website, www.errolleandre.com, and you can learn more information about me there, as well as contact me. Oh, I'm also on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, look me up on LinkedIn, Errol Leandre.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
What a wonderful interview. My main takeaways are accept yourself for who you are, with flaws and all. Just accept yourself, love yourself.
Yes.
Second, surround yourself with people who accept you for who you are. And focus on capturing the audience's heart. If you're to speak in any setting, focus on the heart. And the last but not least, face your fear and speak anyway. Go for it.
Go for it.
Yes. Oh, and try Toastmasters. That was another one that you said. Just give it a try. Go check it out as an observer. And is there anything else you'd like to share with us, Errol, before we end this interview?
I'm happy to have been on your show today. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for the invitation. And I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for coming. What a pleasure it has been. And my dear friend, thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this time with us. And I will leave you with this. The power of your voice can change the world. Find it and use it. See you in the next video. Bye.
Bye.